Hey guys, Thinking here, bringing you another Dragon Ball Z Dokkan battle video, and today we are continuing on with the Extreme Super Battle Road team build guides, and today we are looking at Super TEQ or versus Extreme AGL. As always, we'll be going over some top picks as well as some honourable mentions, and let me know down below in the comments if there's any units that you think we should have talked about, not included in the video, and we can discuss them further afterwards. So we're going to start off with the TN. I say this in all the parts, but the 50% support units are top tier units that need to be on your team if you have them, but they also fill in the role of leader for the team incredibly well because they have the 120% to all stats, but also 4 key, which makes them slightly better than the actual Dokkan Fest 120 leaders, especially if you are bringing LRs on the team. All of the 50% units are Nukas, so as long as you pick up a reasonable amount of orbs with them, they're not going to take a lot of damage. And also TN is one of the better ones because he greatly lowers attack with his super, which is incredibly useful for Super Battle Road, especially depending on where you place him in the turn. You can target the enemy who's attacking the most and greatly reduce their damage output. So even if you don't use him as a leader, you definitely want to be bringing him on the team if you do not have a category lead that you want to run instead. So the next leader we would potentially use is the Future Trunks. So if you're going to include any other units from the Future Saga category, they're going to get a slightly bigger buff, and then everybody else is still going to get the 120%, because obviously for this team we can only run super type units anyway. So he doesn't have the best defense in his base form, but then the next turn he appears, he's going to transform, and once you get off that first super attack, his defense is going to become at least somewhat decent and will continue to build over the next couple of turns. And of course, once you get near to the end, you can always use the active skill, bust out the Spirit Sword, and then use that to finish off the last enemy with one big nuke attack. So I think he's probably the next best leader to use after TN, unless you're going to go for some sort of category build. Because the person you really don't want to use unless you absolutely have to is the Super Saiyan 3 Angel Goku. So obviously he is the Dokkan Fest Super TEQ 120 leader, but because he is still yet to have his EZA on JP, we have no idea when it's going to come or what it's going to be like. But if we look at his passive, he has absolutely no defense. So if you have to bring him, he basically is just a last resort to use for the leader skill, because he's going to take tons of damage. He has a rare chance to stun, which is quite low. Yeah, it's like 20%. So potentially that could be handy, but if you have to bring him, he's probably going to be a third slot floating unit more than anything else. So he is the absolute last resort for a leader. Obviously it's less likely for you to find, like, for example, TN as a friend, but Trunks is probably a lot easier to find. So yeah, then we move on to some of the category options, and obviously LR Vegito, fresh off the 5th anniversary, everyone's hyped for him still. He's very, very good, but Super Battle Road is the mode, I think, where him and Gogeta show their weaknesses the most, because in their base form they don't have the best defense. So what I would advise if you're going to use them on the team is put them in the 3rd slot, because then they gain the 50% chance to dodge, which is actually going to be really, really useful. And then because you put them in the 3rd slot, you don't see them again for 3 turns. Then when they come around, they're going to transform up to blue, and that's when you can then fire off that 18 key super, guaranteed additional, and then he's probably going to clear out the last enemies in that stage for you. Plus, it is possible to make a full Super TEQ Final Trump Card and Patara mixed team, which then means you're going to have 150% across the board to stats instead of 120. Although, of course, this does mean that you need to bring a friend Vegito, so you're going to have 2 of them on the team. So I would still recommend running them both in the 3rd slot. Just find the one you can with the most dupes, and they should be able to make it through. I don't think they're the best choice for like a no items sort of strategy, but if you have a defensive item active, that coupled with their chance to dodge, they should be perfectly fine. Then we move on to a unit that I feel like is going to be a super popular option, not just as a leader, but just on people's team in general, because they still are one of the best units in the game, and that is, of course, the Go Bros. They're a really good option for a leader because they have the Siblings Bond and Goku family category leads, which are hugely expansive categories and feature a lot of Super TEQ enemies. So it's very possible to make a team to use them as double leads. That of course gives you the advantage of having access to double active skills as well. So if you ever get to a point in the fight where there is only one enemy left and you're on 59% or less HP, you can get that huge attack off. Obviously that's probably going to finish them off. It's not like you're going to get onto the next turn and have the next Go Bros ready to go with their active skill, but it gives you that good opportunity to finish off a fight without having to risk taking any extra damage. Plus, of course, as we all know, the Go Bros put out an insane amount of damage. It's possible for them to get 3 super attacks in one turn as long as you have some additional in their hidden potential system. So they can take out huge amounts of the enemy's HP all by themselves. So they are a very good unit, even if you're not using them as a leader, just to have on the team. And of course, the more they attack, the higher their defense gets as well. So they are very, very good. Then we move on to one of the top picks for the teams, as long as you can fit him under the lead that you choose to run, and that is the Super Saiyan God Goku. And the reason that he is so good is he gives himself 100% attack and defense, which is pretty decent. He is self-sufficient because he gives himself 3 ki. He seals the enemy's super attacks, which obviously on Super Battle Road is incredibly useful. We've all seen time and time again when you get an enemy down to the tiniest sliver of health and then they super attack you before you get to finish them off. So sealing supers is incredibly useful in this mode. But the thing that makes him really attractive to use in this mode is this last part of his passive, damage received minus 77% when there is a movie bosses category enemy. So the way the mono Super Battle Road stages work is there's a couple of different fights you can get for the third fight. You can get Turles and his crew, you can get Cooler and his guys, and then one of the final fight options is for Bojack and his crew. So if you're lucky enough to get 2 of those, you could get the third fight and fourth fight as, say, Turles and then Bojack. That means the third and fourth fight, you're going to have this guy be an absolutely incredible tank. You can just put him in the first slot in front of all the attacks. He's not going to take a lot of damage. He can target either Bojack, Turles, Cooler, whoever it is, seal them up because they're always the one that attacks the most in those fights, and then you're not going to have to worry about them super attacking you. He does also get a small attack boost from Rainbow Orbs, which he creates himself, but whilst that's a nice bonus, that's probably more useful just for helping out other people on the rotation, because it makes it easier to collect the different layouts of ki. So I think he's very, very good as long as you can fit him under the leader that you choose to run. Then we have the Oob. So obviously he starts off as Oob Teen. He's super underrated, but he is one of the better Battlefield LRs. He lowers attack on all of his super attacks, which is really good for Super Battle Road. He's somewhat self-sufficient and gets decent stats as long as you have a good amount of HP. But then when you drop below 40% health and he comes onto the turn, he's going to transform into Marjube, give you a 40% heal. And then not only does he still lower attack, but his 18 ki greatly lowers attack. So he's really, really good for nerfing the enemy. It's a lot easier to get his 18 ki super once he transforms as well, because he changes orbs into rainbow and then gets additional ki. So he gets 3 ki per rainbow orb that you pick up. So it's actually very easy to get his 18 ki super even without a great link partner for him. So I know a lot of people didn't bother getting him or bother getting dupes for him from the Battlefield shop, but I would definitely recommend it for this mode if you can fit him under your team build. So then we have this Super Saiyan Vegeta from the Cooler movie. There's nothing particularly special about him for a lot of other modes. Like, you don't see a lot of people talk about this unit, but for Super Battle Road he's really good because he's got 100% attack and defense, which is pretty standard, but he has a 50% chance to stun the enemy with his super attack, which is really, really good. And then depending on your HP at the start of the turn, he's always giving himself 2 ki, so making him a little bit self-sufficient, and then he gets an attack buff as well. So if you're below 50% HP, he can actually hit quite hard as well as being able to stun. Plus he has Prepared for Battle, he has Fierce Battle, Super Saiyan Golden Warrior, so he fits really well alongside almost any of the other units that you would be bringing on a Super Tech team. One of which, who also is a top tier unit, is the Super Saiyan 4 Gogeta. So you can't really use him as a leader, but he has been one of those units on Super Battle Road that has always been very hit or miss depending on your RNG, because obviously the main reason you use him is that he has a 70% chance to counter the enemy super attack. But we've all seen those runs where you put him in front of like 5 or 6 attacks and then none of them are supers, and then they just super the guy in slot 3. But at the same time, we've all seen those runs where he'll counter like 2 super attacks in one turn. So not only do you get away with not taking any damage, but you get to deal some free damage back to them as well. So the only thing you need to be careful with is he doesn't really have any defense until he super attacks. So you really can't put him in slot 1. And he does debuff the enemy's attack and defense by 20% just by being on the rotation. So he is a very good unit to bring on the team. Then we have the Super Saiyan Blue Nuka Vegeta. We talked about the Goku in the physical video. Nothing really to go over for him in much detail. Like, he creates his own tech orbs, you pick up all of those orbs, and then it gives him a super high attack and defense. So he's going to tank really well, hit reasonably hard, and then of course you get a ton of free healing because you're picking up all of those same type orbs that he creates for you. So nothing too fancy in terms of technical like abilities. He's just really, really good, solid tank and free health. So you absolutely want to be bringing him if you can fit him under your leader. Then another Vegeta family, we have the Bulla. One of the only support units that I really recommend bringing on Super Battle Road, because obviously support units have a habit of being hit incredibly hard, whereas Bulla at least has a 30% built-in chance to dodge. And then if you do bring another Peppy Gal's unit on the team, that is increased to 60%. So she does have a reasonable chance to not take any damage, and then she provides 3 key and 40% attack to everybody else. So I think it's worth the risk to bring her, especially have some dupes in her. She can hit reasonably hard because she massively raises her attack, but you're mainly going to be running her for the support. So then we have the TEQ Super Saiyan 2 Vegeta, who transforms into Majin Vegeta. A lot of people were talking about him when he first came out, that he was no good for the mono Super Battle Road stages, because obviously when he transforms into Majin Vegeta, he becomes an extreme TEQ unit. So if you're running a Super TEQ leader, he stops getting buffs from their leader skill, which obviously is really not good. He's not going to be able to super, he's going to get hit incredibly hard. But it is very possible to run a full Super TEQ, Super Saiyan 2 and Resurrected Warriors team using him as the leader and then a second one as a friend. So then even when they transform, they're obviously still getting full benefit of the leader skill. So that is one of the example teams that I'm going to show at the end. I'll probably do that as a run, as a video, just to show that it can be done that way. So then we have Supreme Kai of Time, probably the best support unit on almost any of the teams that she fits on, because she massively raises her defense when she super attacks, which is a 100% buff. So if you have additionals in her and she super attacks twice, even on Super Battle Road, she'll basically just take double-digit damage from the enemy. She also seals their super attack. She gives everyone 3 key and 30% attack and defense, as well as giving a chance to crit. And then also, based on RNG, she can give additional attack and defense as well. So if you get all the right RNG, she's going to be giving, was it 42% attack and defense to everybody, as well as 3 key and 12% chance to crit. So I think she's by far one of the best support units in the game. So you should absolutely be bringing her if you have her. Then we have sort of a joke honourable mention. Shout out to J Fanta. We all know how much he loves Candy Vegito. So Candy Vegito is an infinite stacking unit with a chance to stun, but he has a 70% chance to dodge built into his passive. So again, he's completely RNG related, but like, everyone goes crazy over how good STR UI Goku is, and whilst Candy Vegito is obviously never going to hit as hard as him, he has that same 70% chance to dodge. So because he is a free-to-play card, if you're missing that final option for your team and you just don't know who to bring, you can just put in Candy Vegito, and even if he's not going to be putting out a lot of damage, he has that 70% chance to dodge all attacks. And then the final card I wanted to mention was this Gohan. So he's always been kind of bad. His awakening made him a lot better, but he's certainly a unit that is not going to be the best in terms of overall damage and defense. But he has a chance to stun. He has a built-in chance to dodge. So you do have the potential, as long as you get the right RNG, he can be really useful on the team. If you put him in the first or second slot, his chance to dodge is slightly higher. But one of the reasons why he can be really good is if you start the turn on 30% less HP, not only does he get a 200% attack buff and automatically perform a crit, but he fully recovers you to full health. So that's kind of the only reason you'd bring him. You probably keep him as a third slot floating unit, and then hopefully the timing is right that after you take a big super attack or something, he comes onto rotation next turn and heals you back up to full health. So there you go. Those are the top picks and the honourable mentions. If we go over to the in-game view, there's 3 quick teams that I put together. This is the Goku family or siblings bond team. Obviously, we mentioned all of these units except for the TEQ free-to-play Goku and Gohan. They're a Goku family support unit, so obviously keeping them around with the Gobros or God Goku is just going to provide you a bunch of extra damage or defense. So I think this is a very solid team that could beat the stage. Then we have this is the full TEQ Final Trump Card or Potara team. We've had to include the 2 Super Saiyan 3s to actually get the full TEQ team. Gotenks can be decent as long as you get 11 key, and LR Super Saiyan 3 Goku has always been good in Super Battle Road because he is actually quite good defensively as long as you don't get his 18 key super. But I do worry a little bit about him because with the Link update it's a lot harder to get his 18 key super, but he's still going to be very good defensively. So I think he could make the cut, but that's why he wasn't one of the units that we mentioned in detail. And then this is what the Super Saiyan 2 Vegeta team would look like. So a lot of these units we didn't talk about because they're not really top tier picks for Super Battle Road, but I do feel like you could make this team work. It definitely wouldn't be a no items run, but you could beat the stage with this team, I think. So there you go, that's 3 example teams. I didn't bother showing any of the sort of mono tech lead ones because I feel like as long as you're using the TN or the Trunks lead, you can use any combination of the units that we talked about in this video and you should be able to make a successful team. So that is going to be it for the video, guys. This has been the Master Ningen. Let me know down below any units you think I missed, any units that we should go over in more detail. Let me know what teams you are going to build and we can discuss those further. You can join the Discord, the link is in the description. There's team building sections and stuff in there, and I will see you all again soon. Have a good one.